Anubhav Mangla, Associate Solution Consultant, based out of Dallas, Texas. So I operate from the Dallas office. Moving on to the speakers. I have with me Jiten Chawla, who's software engineer 3 at Cisco, who will be showing us how to build the plugin and taking that part on for today's meetup. So before we move on, is there any question that we want to discuss or anything that comes up? Please use this chat box on the right of your meetup screen to post any questions. We'll cater to those questions. So I can take it up from here in the mentioning what is the need of externalization of secrets. Basically, as we all know, the API, we have tons of properties, be it host, usernames, some secure passwords, and API keys. They need to be for what we have learned earlier. They need to be they need to be configured in your Mule APIs, which makes it difficult to maintain. So security becomes one of the major problem, wherein the login credentials and API keys are stored in the code itself, and then it is very vulnerable. So that becomes one of the viable points for us to externalize those properties and use any externalized system. In our case, we will be using AWS Secret Manager. The other part is configuration management. Since we are talking about centralizing our properties, it becomes really easy for anyone to access those properties. Any Mule APIs, we just have to make change at one place, and then it can be replicated across all the APIs. Talking about dynamic configurations, on the fly we can update those configuration, and all what we need to do is just redeploy our applications, and it will dynamically pick the updated values, rather than we building the API from the updating, building, and then running through the CI/CD pipeline, which is a normal development process, and then promoting those APIs to higher environments from dev all the way to prod. So that is another thing. And basically, separation of concerns is another important point, wherein the properties are circulated in a different environment, which makes it really safe for anyone to, we will be cutting off the cord from anyone to misuse those properties, and it makes it really easy for a developer and leads to manage the code on their side. So, and talking about collaboration and governance, since we can manage access on AWS Secret Manager, so we can provide access to certain persons based on the roles, and they can manage those secrets depending if they want to update those credentials or if they want to add new keys and values. Moving on, let's take a look into AWS Secret Manager, what it is, and what all things is it capable of doing. So it's basically a fully managed service provided by AWS, wherein we can store and manage sensitive information. We can store our passwords, our API keys, the database credentials, and by this, we can eliminate the need of hard coding those values in our code base, be it YAML files, or we are hard coding them straight into the configuration. Few of the benefits that we have choosing AWS Secret Manager is that as and when you use per secret, you pay, which means pay as you go. And you can have audits that if your keys are secure. Additionally, we talked about it that we can manage the access to permission to for particular roles to have the edit permission, view permission, which makes it really secure. Um, and then based on where our APIs are deployed, let's say we have our APIs in East Zone and West Zone, US East, US West. Based on where our APIs are running, we can always have multiple instances, and we can replicate a copy of our secrets in different regions. One of the best feature of AWS Secret Manager is that we can rotate the secrets safely. We can set a interval, and then based on that particular interval we can keep on rotating those keys, not the keys, sorry, the secrets, which will in turn be incorporated in our APIs. This again will require a restart of the applications which are using those, but otherwise these can be rotated at a particular set interval. So this is one of the this is just a snapshot of how the AWS Secret Manager looks. I mean, we will be taking a look into how it looks actually. We'll be signing in and showing that as well when it comes to demo. Moving on.
Anubhav, are you sharing screen?
Sorry. Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes, I'm not. Oh, maybe some problem with me. Sorry for that.
Okay. Maybe. Okay. I'm seeing yes. So probably, maybe Jiten, if you want to dial back in.
Yeah, I'll join back again. 1 second.
Okay, that was a bummer. Okay, I mean, Jiten will join in. Meanwhile, let's talk about system management parameter store. This is another way where we can externalize our parameters, or you can say your key value pairs. This, depending on, we will be moving on to the need of when to use the parameter store and when to use the secrets manager. But first, let's take a look into what are the features that AWS System Manager parameter store has. Right. Again, offered by AWS, allows us to securely store our configuration data and secrets. Then it can be easily accessed by the application within the AWS services as well. So which makes it, yeah, really easier if in case we, let's say tomorrow we want to use it in RDS, we can pull in these values from parameter store and use it there. Um, Centralized location, and then it offers encryption and versioning as well. Let's say we update the parameter value, and then at some point in time we might have to go back to a certain stage. We want to check who updated it. So all of that value, this versioning is maintained in parameter store. Access control is a little bit fine grained than what we have on the secrets manager, but depending on our use case, we can always cater to what needs to be used. Okay, so this is the snapshot of how the systems manager param store looks like. We can key in the key value pairs, then you see the data type we can set, and all of those things. Okay. So the ownership lies on the architect or the architecture team, basically, of what and when to use your AWS Secret Manager and when to use your param store. Let's take a look into the key differences between those. Um, Okay, I see Jiten is also back. Jiten, are you able to see the screen now? Okay, I don't see his feedback. Okay, we'll just wait for Jiten. Meanwhile, he'll respond. Let's discuss what are the key differences between the secrets manager and the param stores. Um, so basically, looking at the purpose, right? The parameter store is basically used for primarily storing and retrieving configuration data, including all the non-sensitive information, DB connection string, but it is not used for storing your encrypted values, your secrets, as a best practice. But it can hold off your all the uh, configuration data properties. Whereas in Secret Manager, it is designed in a way where we can securely store the sensitive information and keep it safe and secure while using them in our Mule APIs as well. Um, then the data encryption. There is a support for data encryption using the AWS key management tool, um, which again provides a fine-grained control access to parameter data. However, the in the AWS Secret Manager, we don't have to manually do it. Ultimately, underlying it use the KMS only, but it automatically encrypts the data and provides a built-in rotation capability as well. If in case at given interval we want to rotate these particular secrets, generate another secret, and then use it, it has the capability to do so. Um, so again, coming back to the question of basically when to use when is the AWS systems manager parameter store useful versus the secrets manager. It basically depends on your use case, and if you want a rotational capabilities in your secrets, most welcome to use the secrets manager. If in case you are just using it for your basic properties like host, or ports, all of those things, you can use the param store. So I will take a quick pause here, and would like to know that if in case we have any open questions before I hand off the mic to Jiten, who will be showing us how to build the actual plugin, and then we can use it in our Mule APIs. So, Jitin, are you back?
Yes, Anubhav. Yeah, sorry for that. Some issues
Perfect,
with.
no problem. We always have some hiccups, so it's acceptable.
Yeah,
Would
but
you like to take over the screen?
yeah, sure. Give me a second. Let me know once you're able to see.
Still popping up.
Are you able to see?
Hmm, it's loading. Yes, I am able to see in the chat box. If people, you can confirm if you guys are able to see the screen. Perfect. I see a lot of it. Yes,
Yeah, you see the studio screen, correct?
correct.
Cool. Okay, let me start. So I think most of the introduction and things have already been covered by Anubhav. So one question was I also want to answer one question. So Amalendra asked like whether this can replace YAML files. That actually depends on your client. If the client has AWS, already have an AWS license, yeah, then it makes sense to use AWS. But if they don't have an external store where they could store all the properties, then I'm afraid we can't use that. We can't replace YAML files. But when we have a like a external store where we could store all our secrets, it could be anything. It could be secrets manager, it could be param store, even it could be S3 bucket also, for that matter. uh, and some other solution include AWS Key Vault also, so they can also be there. So we need we need that particular external software with us, external application with us, to do this job, and then MuleSoft can help us to integrate it. So today we'll talk about, so AWS. I think we've already talked about. So we'll cover both Secrets Manager and Param Store, and we'll see how we can actually create a plugin with them. So before that, I'll share one small link. You can also open that link, and you can also go through that link, which is regarding how we can actually create property configuration properties. So imagine you configure all the properties, and when your application starts, all your properties which are in AWS Secrets Manager gets loaded up. So you don't need to call anything external endpoint. Whenever your application starts, all your properties are loaded into the memory, and then you can use those properties inside your application. So that's the kind of magic. That's the kind of thing that MuleSoft's configuration provider provides us, and we will be using its capability to do the job for us. So before that, I'll share one small documentation in the link. You can also take a look into that. So we have used similar plugin for us to create our AWS plugin for us. Sharing one small link. I've shared in the chat. You can take a look, and then we'll be following most probably the same link. Only thing is we'll be using AWS SDK, Java SDK, to connect to our secrets manager. Okay. So for this plugin, we are using AWS SDK 2 V2 version, which is the new version that is there. So that is really good. It has some more functionality compared to SDK V1. So we'll be using V2. That doesn't mean V1 is not being used. People also use V1 also, a V1 version also. We could use V1 version also, but for our use case, we'll be using V2. Any questions until now? Okay, cool. So yeah, let's start. So as part of this documentation, there is a sample project that you have to import in your Studio, or import in your maybe any Java editor. Actually, Studio would work, but you will see some errors. So instead of Studio, you could also use a Java editor also, that could work. So for this particular plugin, you need a basic Java knowledge also, because just to make sure we are able to build this plugin very smoothly, and the kind of functionality it provides. It can be made in other ways also, but those ways might not be as efficient as this one. So I'm just explaining how we can build that, and some basic Java knowledge is needed. And if you could just go through the document also, that could also. I'm sorry, I think it will be a little difficult to zoom in the screen. Let me check if I can.
Maybe you can change the resolution of the screen altogether.
Yeah, yeah, I'll try. 1 second. Is it fine now? Better? Yeah, cool. So yes, so we have one. This is we are building this plugin. So there are some changes that we have to make. But first, before the changes, I'll just show you the class that we have to make specific change to. So since we are connecting to AWS Secrets Manager, so we have a small piece of code that we have to write. So this piece of code is basically responsible for connecting to secrets manager. As I tell, this can be done in number of ways. You can actually call V1 API or V2 API. So for our matter, we are using V2 API. If you see, so we have this AWS SDK, which is V2. That's what we are using for Secrets Manager, and these are some of the other dependencies that we are using as part of our project. So some of the dependencies will come as a part of that sample project that you will import, but others, depending on our use case, you have to import. Now, the question would be, hey Jiten, like if I could use any other AWS service, absolutely, you can use any other AWS service where you have the secrets, and not just AWS service. For example, if there is an API, some external location where if you call that API, it gives you a response, and you want to import the properties from that particular API, that can also be done. So anything can be done using this one. But the important thing is this is the particular piece of code that we have to correct. So we have actually for these are four different classes that are four different files that are part of it, and usually the most important piece of this whole is this particular class, this particular interface, which is configuration properties provider factory. Now this interface is the one which is responsible. So whenever a mule runtime starts, it actually looks for this interface to check if there are any configuration properties that it has to load up. This specific interface is responsible for loading the properties. So even if you see the internal implementation, okay, I might be going if I'm going a little out of touch or going too deep, let me know. If you just check the internal implementation of your secure properties editor that we use, or the normal properties editor that we use, they're basically using configuration provider factory inside it only. So MuleSoft Mule4 runtime specifically takes a look into this particular interface, and then it actually checks, okay, this is a property loader. Now this I have to implement to check, make sure all the properties are there. Now to implement them, all the properties, you have to implement certain functions that are basic Java oops concept that we have. If we implement something, then we have to implement some of the functions also. So these are some of the functions that we are using. So these are the parameters that we will be passing. So we have access key. So whenever you have to connect to AWS, there are many ways, but the most used way is using your access and secret key. I'll also show you on console how you can do that. You have the secret key. I mean, the access key and secret key both can be provided. You have the location. Location means the name of the secret. So in a you create one secret, and in that secret you can have multiple properties inside it. I think Anubhav will show you the AWS console how it looks like. And then you have the region, which is your AWS region, whether it's US East 1, US West 2, or maybe EU, any other region, EU region. That's the beauty of it. This particular plugin can be, provided to, you can be, you know migrated to different environments also, or different even regions also. That's the beauty of it. So you can just there is no specific need to migrate it. You just need to pass the property, and that's it. So that's a good thing about it. Now these are some of the properties that we are passing, and we this is a small piece of code. So some of the classes are already made. You have to just configure them, just customize them a little. And this is the piece of code that I'm writing, initialize function, where we actually load all the properties. So this is where we are loading all the properties. So if you see, we are using the credentials. Then we are building the secrets manager client, and that client, once it is built, we are using it secret value request, which is the name of our basically the name of the function that we will be using to get all our secrets. So when we call a secret, it will list us all the properties, and then in a string basically. So you get a string, and then we convert it into a hash map, and the hash map is one that gets converted into a key value pair. So all the properties that you have, the YAML file, or the property file that we use, it's basically inside. When the mule runtime starts, it's converted into a hash map, that key value pair. That's why it's easy for us. That's how you are able to get all the properties, get all the for particular property, you get the value for it. So it's a key value pair configuration that is made. So similar thing here also, we are creating a key value configuration. So any questions? If I'm going too fast, please let me know in the chat. Cool. Yeah. So there are other things that I want to share here. So I think this is fine. Yeah. So yeah. So the importance. So when you've seen like whenever you use a connector, when you hover on any of the properties, you get a description. Okay, what this property does, what this connector does, and what this operation does for you. So that's the same thing that we are trying to do here. That that same thing that we have done. So parameter group is the parameters that a particular connector will ask for it to run. So this is a parameter group declarer that we use for setting up the properties that we want: access key, secret, location, and region. Now we have to make sure that the name of these strings are the same as the one we have set here. It's a very important thing here. So just make sure we have the same properties here so that we don't run into any other problem. Yeah. So this is particular. So this is basically getting the properties from the user, or the connect. This connector will be used where whichever place it is used, and then we will be using them. So once this is done, there are other things that we have to set up. Whenever you create a new project, this is a particular class which is the class particular class which is implementing this interface. Configuration provider properties provider factory, as I told you, it's a very important class, important interface. So you have to implement, just have to declare that class here at source main resources meta-nf services folder. Just make sure you do that. So this is a prerequisite for this plugin to work properly. This particular information is already there in that document that I've shared, so it can be used. But I'm trying to make it more easier for you to understand. So just 2 3 steps are there. Just make sure to follow them. So this particular you have to always set it up there. Now once this is done, you also set in the artifact.json. You also set the configuration provider factory path and the delegate the delegate for delegate function, which is responsible for taking the parameters from the user. Any question? Now we'll go to the actual functioning of this plugin.
I don't see any open questions in the Q&A or general section.
Yeah, guys, like if you have any question, like maybe I know it is a little tricky at first, but once you understand it, it's really easy to implement. But if you have any questions, anything, you can ask me. Feel free to ask me. Kidoki. Also, one thing I forgot actually. Make sure you change your group ID and artifact ID. I will use it. There is a user. But there is some usage between Mule Secret Manager rather than using AWS Secret Manager. How to trigger application issue when cool. Yeah. So yeah, I'll take one by one. So Murli, the Mule Secrets Manager has a different use case compared to AWS Secrets Manager. Mule Secrets Manager is where you keep your certificates, your key store files, your JKS files, or even your public and private key dot your PEM files. They are specifically used for that. But AWS Secrets Manager is specific only for keeping your secrets. That's it. Any database password, any RDS, for example, AWS has RDS, so any RDS username or password, or any Kubernetes cluster name, or any, I don't know, maybe it could be your any token or auth token or any sort of a, I don't know, API key that you want to store. That will be stored in AWS Secrets Manager. So I don't think MuleSoft Secrets Manager does that job. It does that job really well on if you want to store your certificates, but especially when it comes to storing your secrets, I think yeah, there are some limitations on that side. Amalender, where do you store secret and access key? We usually store access key and secret key either in we can pass it via our CI/CD pipeline, or we can keep it as a part of, because this is something that we have to keep part of our applications. So usually, what is preferred is you keep secret and access key as a part of your CI/CD pipeline, and these and whenever the application needs to be deployed, they can at that time be passed. And Ryan, like, yeah, when the rotation happens, how do you manage the restart of the application? Yes, we have to restart the application. The only thing you can do is at the so since when the secrets are rotated, I'm pretty sure your AWS access key and secret key will change. So you have to pass those secrets at the time of your deployment pipeline. And once you have to change, you can change it at the CI/CD level itself. And once you change that there, application will restart, and then it will actually load all the properties it wants. I hope I have answered your question. Absolutely, absolutely, Ragul. It can be extended to use anything else apart from AWS Secrets Manager or Parameter Store. We could use Azure Key Vault. We could use even S3 bucket also. Maybe you have a file. So yeah, that can also be true. You have a AWS Secrets Manager rotation. SNS and CI/CD trigger somehow. Currently, we don't have something like that implemented, but we did implemented it a similar thing in our previous in my previous projects where a rotation used to happen every 3 months, and so usually the AWS admin will get a notification. Okay, if this particular secret is going to or particular user or credentials are going to be expired, so we have to rotate them. Once the rotation happens, we were provided, or the DevOps team itself actually provided this access key and secret key, and that was changed at the time of deployment pipeline, and that's how the whole pipeline was triggered. We don't have that thing automated. I don't think we have this whole process automated rotation. Actually, I haven't done that, but I'm pretty sure it can be implemented. Possibly open source the plugin. Okay, that's a very interesting question. We'll see. Anubhav, I think you can pick it up.
So yeah, we can see if we can publish it and take it to the MuleSoft publicly. But we can see if we can put this code into any public repository.
Yeah, but because I think it's still, I think it works. It serves the job really well, but there are some things that we still have to correct it because we still haven't tested it at a very high scalable level. So yeah, maybe as a trial we can, but I'm pretty sure we there are some more changes, some more things that we can add to it to make it more robust. Yeah, thank you. Any more questions? So I'll show you two things. First, to use this plugin in local, and then use this plugin to any point, push this plugin to any point exchange. Okay. So if you push it to any point exchange, all people within the org or within the business group can actually use it. So that's a good thing. And also the important thing, the good thing of using it in from exchanges, when you try to use this plugin from CI/CD pipeline, it can easily load the plugin details from the CI/CD deployment step itself. So it won't be stored at your local system, but it will be stored at MuleSoft's own Maven repository, a private Maven repository. So you can easily pull that plugin details and then start from it. So let's start with the simple step. So all you have to do is, let me open it. Once you're able to see, right? All we'll do is ambient in install. That's it. So this plugin is now stored in your local M2. I can also show you that also if you want. CD dot path folder. See, it's there now. The jar is there. Cool. So your plugin is now ready to be used inside your local system. Anubhav will show you the whole plugin demo, but before that, I'll also show you how to push it to Exchange. That's a very important thing. So let me pull up my Anypoint Exchange, Anypoint platform personal account. I already did that here.
Seems like Jiten, uh, maybe he's 1 second. So Jiten's, I mean, not Jiten's power, but the power went out for him. Um, I can take it up. Let's see if we can take a look into the code of how that actual plugin is implemented. We will take a look into the publishing part later on once Jiten joins, if we have some time. So please confirm in the chat window if you have you are able to see my screen. Okay, good. So basically, what Jiten showed, the plugin that was built, I already installed it on my local, and I have added that dependency. So I'm using the same dependency here, which just brings up this dependency in my Mule application, a simple Mule application. And here on, what I'm doing is I have configured the inputs, the configuration to HTTP listener and other things dynamically. These are being picked up from properties, HTTP host, port, um, and the in even in the requester. So what it is doing is just receiving the request and then fetching all the properties that we have stored. I'll be shortly showing the AWS Secrets Manager as well on AWS console. But what we are doing is we are pulling in all the properties that we have and then making a call to one of the Mule APIs. This is also deployed in three different environments: dev, QA, and prod, for us to see how dynamically we are able to make the calls and how those secrets are being fetched. So part of it is even these HTTP requesters, these are coming in, all of these configurations are also coming in from the properties. Let me take a step back and first let's take a look into the AWS Secret Manager. So Once we log into the console, we can look into the AWS Secret Manager. Here I have already pre-configured the secrets, basically the secret names. So for all the three different sets of environments, I have different values. If I go here, I have all the values that I'm using in my code, which starting from mule environment, host, path, port, base path, anything that needs to be there. And then if we see, we are invoking the development environment, which we will be seeing on the Anypoint platform as well. So all of the configuration is done for dev, QA, and prod. We have the same set of keys and different values. If you see, the port is different, listener port is different, just to demonstrate, and likewise for prod. So going back, and I see Jiten is also back. We'll give him mic for AWS. Sorry, not AWS, but for publishing the asset to exchange towards the end of the demo. Um, So taking a look into the code, very basic, just doing a simple receiving a request and then sending that request to the API deployed on any point platform. So let me run this application in debug mode. And here for passing on the AWS secrets and configurations, I have passed on the arguments in on the runtime for the access key and secret, and the environment. What location are we going to pick it up from? What region? Basically, these four were the variables that Jiten showed while building the plugin. These are required. We can have them externalized in our Mule APIs itself, or we can pass it on runtime, which can be done on real time. It can be done on through CI/CD. Let's see if this API is deployed. Let me clear the console so that it's easier, and send in a request. So here I'm sending in a request to this particular API. We see we got the request, and I'll be running this in debug mode only so that we can see how the parameters are flowing and how we are getting the value. If we take a look, basically this is my transform message has um, all the values being picked up from properties except for timestamp. All of this is being picked and we got it logged. I'll shortly show the global configuration as well, that we are not having any YAML file in this project. Then moving on, completing this request, let me take you guys to the Anypoint platform. So this is the development environment and the API that I deployed for demo purposes. If you see here, we just got a request with the same set of properties, and this is all dynamically fetched. Um, Let me go back to the actual project structure. So typically in our Mule APIs, we have the YAML files specific to environments in this SRC main resources. Um and we don't have any of the global configuration for secure properties or the configuration properties. All of it is coming in from this plugin. Now, since we have already seen the development environment, let me just go ahead and change the configuration to point it to QA.
Anubhav, can you also show how the location is passed?
Yes. So if we go here, right, this location is basically what you name on your what you name your secrets. This is the location. So if we are saying prod MuleSoft secrets, we briefly touched base on this one, but this is the location. So for all of your different environments, we can have different locations, and this can be dynamically passed either through CI/CD or however you want to manage using your runtime manager. But this can be dynamically passed. The same I'm passing through runtime. So going back, let's test the QA one. QA, I changed the port to 8082 just to make sure that we are picking it up dynamically. And as we see, we have received the request. Again, we are doing the same dance. The request went through. Let's go back and check in the QA environment. So as we see, we received the request on the QA environment. So all of this is dynamically configured without the use of any local files. So yeah, we have the similar ones for prod as well. But yes, this is what how the plugin actually is being used in the Mule API. So okay, I have
Milind,
to check.
yeah, I'll just take one question. Yes, we can configure two different plugins. It won't create a conflict. Uh, it won't create a conflict if you want to pass two different locations to it. It shouldn't be a problem. But you have to create then two different configurations for it. One for your one location, second for other location, and make sure the property you pass is not. But it won't create any conflict.
Okay. So any other question that we want to take before I hand over back to Jiten for showcasing how to publish the plugin to Exchange? So if not, then Jiten, over to you.
Yes, 1 second. Yeah, let me share my screen. Are you able to see my studio?
It's visible to me. So
Yeah. Can everyone confirm? Yeah. Cool. So we have our plugin for that. So yeah. So we want to push our this plugin to any point exchange. So there are two ways you can do that: either through a Maven command, or through a through or through a sorry, or through a anypoint platform API. So we'll use anypoint platform API since it's currently is easiest way to do. Maven also will show, but we have to configure things. So I currently I don't have configured it, so I'll choose the easy way for now. But yeah, let me go to that API. So we have this asset API that is responsible for to any point exchange. So you have a plugin, and you once everything's your plugin is created, but you want to push it to any point exchange, and make sure it is used can be used by also. That's what we'll be doing. So before that, we'll get the first our platform details. So how we that's the most important thing. Okay, let me just start it. First, we'll retrieve the token. This is the standard use standard use of platform API. How to use it. Then we'll get the basically the profile information, what is the we could, group ID, user ID, every those of the details that we'll use. After the once that is done, we'll go to this API. Organization IDs we already have. Now we'll set all the properties. So this is the my name of the plugin. So I'll go to this property loader. We'll copy some of the details here. The name. We have the asset ID. We have the version is 264. We have the name. And with the classifier. Classifier here is very important. Make sure it is Mule plugin. It can there are many different types of classifier, but for pushing to Exchange and you to use it as a connector, we'll use Mule plugin. Okay. Make sure you also change the group ID to your organization ID, which is in our case it is this one. This is a very important step. Please don't forget to do that. Once this is done, we'll upload. But first, before uploading, we'll first build this project. Let me go here again. cd do ambient clean package. So it is built now. Let's go to our here and first click on POM. POM is actually the path where this plugin is there. So we'll go there. Chawla, this is my POM. And this is the file. We'll go to target. Now when you click on it, it is successful. And if you see my AnyPoint Exchange, it's pushed now, published. This is the dependency that you can use. And that's how you can use it in the demo as a property. No, the AWS Secrets Manager already internally does that, so we don't need to pass anything. The encryption address is already enabled on it. So if you will show you the console also, the KMS, it's already enabled. So we don't need to do anything for that. The encryption key. We use highly available fault tolerances ensuring continuous switches. Yes, we can be use. You can use it, that Ragul. There is I hope there shouldn't be problem, but yeah, we haven't tested it, but as of now we haven't, like, we used this for one or two places, but we haven't faced any issues for that. The failure would be when our secrets are compromised and then we have to rotate it quickly. So once the rotation is in, we have to pass the same credentials there. That is the only failure. But usually AWS has 99%. AWS already says 99% things are, it doesn't go down. But one scenario could be your region could go down. So in that case, the secret should be in a multiple region. That's a best practice that you should follow. But because there it happened a lot some time ago, US East one got down for some time, and it caused a massive impact. Although it's a very rare scenario, that but it could happen. So in those cases, you should have your secrets in multiple regions, and not just console, actually already provides that feature. Yeah, and that's how we can push it to Exchange. Any questions? I think no questions.
No questions. I think we are almost on top of the hour. Okay. So, if no questions, I believe we are good to wrap up the session. Please share your feedbacks and do sign up, become a member of the Frisco Meetup group, so that for all of the future meetups you get a notification. And yes, to answer your question, so I got a DM from Gopal that we will be uploading this video to YouTube, and we'll share. You'll receive an email with the PPT as well as the video link. So we will do that.
I think Anubhav, there are some questions. Morally, I think that's the part. Once you, yeah, if we have AWS, that is the way to go, because the problem is if we use those properties, the problem is uh, those properties are actually part of your code itself, your YAML file, your GitHub pipeline. So even if you encrypt it, so that's the problem. That's the problem we are trying to avoid. We don't want anything that we. Malinder, I think we we have run out of time for Param Store. Uh, but yeah, I think
Yeah, so we can cover Param Store probably in next meetup.
yeah. Yes, AWS is pay as go model, but Secrets Manager is the cost of it is much less, not high. AWS Param Store is even more cheaper than Secrets Manager. That's why some clients prefer Param Store, but it's not as efficient, and the rotation policy, the support for rotation is also not that good. But Secrets Manager, it supports many of the features, so that's why it's a much better option if you don't have that problem with it. Okay. Any
Perfect.
more questions? Yeah, we can wait maybe 2 more minutes for any more questions.
Yes.
Thanks, Murli.
Thanks everyone who joined in.